Your next promotion is just the beginning, and this podcast shows you how to get there. Welcome to episode number 191. Today's episode is the third part of my three-part series on career magic, where I'm showing you how to use your own magic on purpose to create career results that you never even could have imagined were possible before tapping into your own magical abilities. And today's episode is all about the magic of curiosity. And if you ever get the opportunity to meet one of the women that I've been working with one-on-one for the past couple of years, ask them what got them to the level of success that they're at today, and they will say curiosity. The more that Stacy worked with me, the more that Stacy helped me to stay curious in conversations, the bigger results and the better results I was able to create in my career over and over again. So this episode, I'm going to be breaking that down into 3 ways that you can start to use the magic of curiosity for yourself. And I just cannot wait to see what happens for you. Let's get started. Welcome to Women Changing Leadership. I am your host, Stacy Mayer, and I teach you how to get promoted, get paid, and bring your whole self to the leadership table. I am on a mission to change organizations from the C-suite out, because women are the new face of leadership, and we are doing it on our terms. Hello, corporate badasses. Welcome to another episode of Women Changing Leadership. I'm your host, Stacy Mayer, and super excited, as always, to be here with you again this week. This week, I am celebrating the Summer of Magic and closing out the 3-part series where I give you practical tools to begin to use your own personal magic on purpose to create the career results that you never even knew were possible in your life. And over the past 2 episodes, I have shared with you how you can begin to set intentions in the way that actually gives you what you want. And I also shared with you how to use the magic of belonging to believe that you belong in the room and then to act as such so that it creates more belonging for you in the room. So go back and listen to those 2 episodes, as well as the introduction episode that I shared about the Summer of Magic. And then for a little bonus, go back to last year's Summer of Magic, where I introduced the concept as a whole. And I really share the foundational principles that I teach as part of my executive promotion process. So that is all of your homework after you listen to today's episode, because it doesn't matter if you have heard any of those episodes, you're still going to get so much out of part 3 of Summer of Magic, where I am sharing with you everything that I have learned and teach my clients about the magic of curiosity. Now, before I get into this, I want to share with you what is happening for us inside of the leadership table. As of August 1st, we just kicked off a scavenger hunt, a magical scavenger hunt. And this actually came through the magic of curiosity, me asking myself, what could be super fun for the women inside of the group so that they could really connect in an even bigger, broader way. You know, one of my goals is with this work is not only to give you the tools to get yourself promoted, but so that you have a community of women that also have the same goals, who have been through the same challenges, that are working on an all-male team, that have a toxic boss, that have overcome adversity, that have figured out how to get promoted and get promoted and get promoted again. And then what is so magical is watching the women that I've been working with for the past 2 or 3 or even 4 years start to give back to the community and share their wisdom as well. And so that it just becomes this huge reciprocal effect. And I asked myself, what do we need? And I just was like, it was so easy. I actually let me just be completely transparent. I did a little magical ritual. I have oils and I took some clary sage oil and I placed it on my third eye. And I asked myself, what does my group need to hear from me? And I came up with the scavenger hunt idea. My assistant and I, Marie, we put it out there and everybody's already getting to work. So it's really, really fun. Also, at the time of recording this episode, our goal of celebrating 108 promotions throughout the Summer of Magic on LinkedIn. And I think at the time of recording this, we're like at number 62 and celebrating those. And we still have like 4 or 5 weeks of summer left. So I'm super excited. We're definitely going to hit our goal of celebrating 108 promotions over the summer, even while we are on vacation. So if you have a celebration and you want to tag us, go to or just include the hashtag Summer of Magic 2023 so that we can celebrate you. And as part of this magic, I'm going to be giving away prizes, both inside my leadership table. So they're going to get some of the exclusive stuff, but outside of the leadership table as well. So even if you're not part of our community, you are part of my community. If you're listening to this podcast, if you follow me on LinkedIn, definitely connect, send me a DM, let me know what's going on for you, because I want to celebrate you in all its glory because you are a total corporate badass and you deserve it. And so I'm really excited to be a part of that conversation and to see what we can do more of. So now in today's episode, we're talking about curiosity and what does curiosity mean and how can we begin to create more of that curiosity in our lives. And when I was thinking about recording this episode, I was like, to me, curiosity is incredibly simple. It's really easy for me to tell. If you're one of my clients and you come to me for coaching and you're not being curious, it's really, really obvious. And it's actually so simple for me to coach you back into curiosity. And then not only that, the magnitude of results that you receive by staying in curiosity, it blows your mind so quickly. Curiosity is the number one reason why my clients say to me, you're not going to believe what happens. It's because they were being curious and then they created results that they almost couldn't believe themselves. Right? So today's episode, I'm going to tell you how to do that. And that's why it feels like a very dangerous episode because it's going to seem so easy and you're going to start to do it and you're going to get such huge results so quickly that you're not going to need me anymore. And I'm sort of laughing at that because I know that's not true. Because if you do what I'm saying in today's episode and you get the feedback that I'm telling you that you will get, then you're going to want to join my one-on-one program. And I will welcome you with open arms so that we can do more, and more. I'm so, so excited how quickly and just like in a bigger way than I could even imagine how we're transforming the leadership table already. Let me give you an example because another thing I've been enjoying about the Summer of Magic is sharing my own personal stories. So I was thinking about a magical moment in my life where I really used the power of curiosity. And then I'm going to explain to you again in this episode exactly how you can start to use that power as well. It's been like maybe 10 or 11 years ago. I was working at a hedge fund in Palo Alto and I decided that I wanted to leave my job and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do next. And I had heard about an ashram in India, in Rishikesh, India, that I wanted to go to. And I saw an image of it and I was like, oh, I'm going to that place. So I decided I was going to go to this ashram. I looked it up. They had a yoga teacher training coming up and I bought a one-way ticket. I applied for a visa and I quit my job at the hedge fund. And my boss, when I told him, by the way, he called it like my LeBron James drop the mic moment because I was just like, hey, here's my 2 weeks notice. And what do I have instead? I'm going to India on a one-way ticket. So that's not, I mean, that's sort of being curious, but that's not the bulk of the story. That's just the background. So I get to India and I'm traveling around. And one of the big things about having a one-way ticket is that it opened me up for opportunities. So that's actually the first way that you can create and use the magic of curiosity for yourself, is to open yourself up to openings, right? To look for openings and gaps. So that's what you're actually doing, is you're allowing the magical gaps to come into your life. So me buying a one-way ticket, you could think about me going to India as being a magical experience anyway. And if you're from India, if you've ever traveled through India, you know that it has a very special, different vibration than the rest of the world. And I think that's like undeniable that things operate differently in India. And I just saw evidence of magic over and over and over and over again, but I'm not going to go into all those stories. But what I do want to say is that just going to India could have been magical enough in and of itself. But what I did with the one-way ticket is I opened myself up for openings, for gaps. And at the end of the yoga teacher training, which I think was about 6 or 7 weeks where I was at the ashram, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I just knew that I wasn't ready to go back home, but I had no idea where to go or what to do next. And so I decided to have a conversation with the woman who was running the training. Her name was Mataji. And I went to her room and I knocked on the door, and it was, this woman she's a woman of very few words, and we didn't really get a chance to connect with her very much. She would just sort of come in and teach the class and leave. And I go to her room and I knock on the door, and she answers and invites me in and gives me some tea, and we sit down, and she's like, okay, how can I help you? And I said, well, I'm not sure. I just wanted to let you know that I'm not leaving, that I have a one-way ticket, that I can stay at the ashram for as long as I want. And I asked her what she thought I could do at the ashram. Like, if there's something that I can help out. I knew they had another program coming in the next week. And I was just really being curious and allowing whatever was going to happen. And I asked her this question, and she kind of looked at me and stared for a minute. And then she says, okay, I'm going to have you teach the next program. And I was like, what? And she said, I'm just going to have you teach the next program. And then that was it. And I think she kind of like shuffled me out of the room then and was like, okay, go on. Bye-bye. And I was like, but what, wait, what? How does that work? How do I teach the next program? I just received my yoga teacher certification. Wait, isn't the next program, people are coming from all over the world to study India in India, right? With an assumingly Indian teacher. And I was like, excuse me, what's going on? And the imposter syndrome started to flare up, but really more importantly, just like complete confusion. I was like, what is happening? Now, looking back at this moment, I realized that I was in the power of curiosity. I allowed the openings to happen by buying the one-way ticket and not having these like firm deadlines. Like every single other person in the training had another destination. They were like out of there. They were like, I'm gone, next place, right? That doesn't allow for possibility for openings. And so in my case, I was just like, hey, I have a one-way ticket. Anything is possible. I put myself out there kind of in a big way. I was like, look, how can I help out? It was a little bit intimidating to knock on her door and to actually ask her. And she said, I'm going to have you lead the program. And then I just had to figure it out. And I did. And it was magnificent. This was one of the most profound experiences of my life. Yes, going to India and being a student was huge. Going to India and becoming a leader was literally everything. It was unimaginable. And the people that I met and the people that I was able to support and to lead, and I really stepped up to the plate. I mean, I have no doubt that so quickly after I came back to the United States, I started the coaching business that you see today. And I think that single moment propelled everything else that happened for me in my life. Like even just sharing it with you, I get choked up. So continuing on that theme of opening yourself up for openings and possibility, it's important for you to understand as you're starting to practice your own magic of curiosity is that you are incredibly empowered when you ask these questions. When you create these openings, you are very much in control. And this matters because the biggest coaching mistake that I see women do is when they are trying to practice curiosity, and I coach a lot about curiosity inside of my groups, is they start to ask too many questions. They act like they don't have the answers. And this really comes back to that old school mentality of mentorship, which is like, I need your help. I need your guidance. You're an executive leader. You're more important than me. So please tell me what to do. And we enter into these conversations and energetically we put ourselves like really low and we lose our power in those conversations. And when I refer to curiosity, I mean, it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. Like you are so empowered. And so in this example that I gave, I did not ask her for permission to tell me what to do with my life. Like I didn't ask her about my career path. I didn't ask her, how I should apply the yoga teacher training. I just said, hey, is there a way that I can support and help out? And she said, yes. It was actually incredibly clear, incredibly powerful. She picked up on my powerful energy and knowing, and then she just ran with it, right? And that is how you are entering these conversations. So I have a very specific example for you of how you can look for these openings. Something that I share with people all the time is whenever you receive a compliment, ask why, right? So let's say somebody tells you that you did a really great job on that presentation. Okay. So I've never seen anybody present to the board so well. I want you to follow that up. So that's an opening, right? I have never seen you present to the board that well, or I really love the way you talked about this in that presentation, right? And instead of just saying, oh, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, stay in your power and say, why? What was it specifically that you think really turned the board in my favor? I'm going to say that again. When somebody gives you a compliment, say why. What was it specifically? Now you do that from an empowered place, right? You have to make sure. I'm not asking you for, did you like the color of my slides? I'm asking you, what was the moment when you think I really had the board on my side? If somebody asks you to apply for a job on their team, ask them why. Why do you think I am specifically qualified to apply for this job, for this position? That is staying in curiosity from an empowered place, right? It's very important that you hold your own and that you understand your worth and your value. So if you haven't done the work to manage your emotions, if you don't understand how to set those really big intentions that I talked about in the Summer of Magic, how to really feel like you belong, then skip the curiosity altogether because you're going to instantly default into, I don't know what I'm doing. Please tell me what to do. Right? So same scenario, somebody gives you a compliment and you're like, oh, thank you so much. Why did you like it? Like, no, none of that. You're like, why? At what point in the presentation do you think I really had the board? What really moved them to take action? That is so, so important when you're thinking about using the magic of curiosity. Now, think about what is going to happen for you as a result to using these openings, right? When you start to play with some of these openings, why do you get those, oh my God, Stacy, you're not going to believe what happened results? And it's twofold. So let's just use the simple example of why, asking somebody why. So they're already giving you a compliment. There are so many times when we schedule a meeting with somebody and we ask for feedback and we catch them at some sort of weird time where they're not even really thinking about us. But this is the perfect opportunity. They're already in the moment thinking about you in a good light, right? They want you to apply for a job on their team. They are giving you a compliment. They're saying something to you like, I don't know why you haven't been promoted yet. And you're like, I don't know either. Maybe we could brainstorm about it, right? Maybe we can figure out a solution. And then they're like, oh, okay, that sounds great. And you know what? Here's where the magical outcome comes. They help you figure out a solution. So not only do they tell you why they want you to apply for a role on their team, they're solidifying why they want you to apply for a role on their team. And then generally what happens is after that conversation, they pick up the phone and they call somebody in HR and they're like, you know what? Let's make sure Sheila gets first in line to apply for this role on my team, right? That is the magic of curiosity. I sent my kids to a school based on the orientation, like when we were visiting new schools. And my children are in elementary school. So I have a first grader and a third grader. So we've been at the school for now. This is going into our third year being at the school, and we absolutely love it. And when I was listening to the principal of the school talk about the philosophy of the school, I couldn't help but notice that everything he said were leadership traits. I was like, wait a second. So this school is excellent academically, and they are creating leaders can you imagine, since kindergarten, they are creating leaders, and it's through one simple methodology. They call it the Socratic method, and I call it the power of curiosity. They are using that. My children are being taught in a very proactive way how to stay curious. And I don't even understand the Socratic method in all the details, but if you just look it up and you kind of just like Wikipedia it and you see what does the Socratic method mean, basically it draws out ideas and it challenges presumptions. That's it. It's a way that they put these children at kindergarten. They put the children in a circle and they teach them how to challenge ideas or how to draw out ideas and challenge presumptions, like the status quo. And when you look at executive leadership, so many CEOs do not want yes people. They want people to challenge the status quo. Now, I'm going to caveat that inside a box, right? Like you can't be so challenging. And as a woman, you know this, right? If you have all of these crazy ideas and they're just like, oh my God, she's too threatening, we're not going to promote her. That happens all the time. So you have to make sure that your ideas are big and bold and challenge the status quo within whatever framework fits for them. And some of the work that I'm doing inside the leadership table is having women understand what the politics are at their organization so that then we can fully be ourselves within a political structure. But in this Socratic method, what we're doing is we're learning how to challenge the status quo without pissing people off. It's actually one aspect of this methodology is debate and healthy debate. And the only way we can have healthy debate is through the act of belonging, is through the magic of staying curious, right? Not feeling threatened, that I can push back, but then also I can listen, right? So they're learning how to do both things. And essentially what they're doing is they're becoming leaders, young leaders of their own thoughts and creation of their own ideas and learning how to bring up conflict and to challenge the status quo in a way that still allows them to have friends, right? We do want to have friends, right? We don't want to get fired at our organization. We still want to belong and we still want to get promoted. So how do we learn how to be ourselves and challenge the status quo and continue to stay in alignment with our organization. And it's through curiosity. That is the magic of curiosity. Let me give you another example of just like such an obvious example of staying curious. A woman came to our weekly call and she raised her hand to share a win. And she was, or actually it wasn't a win, but it was sort of a win. I'll share it with you. She said that this is not really a win, but at least I have the information. My boss came up to me and scheduled a meeting to follow up for a promotion conversation that I had with him. And he said, I just want to give you the heads up. It doesn't look like you're going to be part of the next promotion cycle, which is still 2 months away. And he was talking about something like, hiring freezes and things like that. And that happens all the time, right? Is that, you will hear something from your boss who's like, it's not likely that you're going to be promoted. And really what they're trying to do is protect our feelings so that we can kind of understand. Also, they're trying to gauge our willingness to stay at the organization, like how pissed off we're going to be. And when she shared this information, she said, well, it's sort of a win because at least I have the information now, even though I'm disappointed that it's not going to work out. Well, her promotion cycle is still 2 or 3 months down the line. Anything can happen in 2 or 3 months. Like even if you're promised a promotion, anything can happen in 2 or 3 months. And I've seen that happen on the reverse, right? You're promised a promotion, 2 or 3 months go by and you don't get it. And you're like, wait, what happened? It's because until we actually receive the promotion, we don't have the promotion, right? And so I encouraged her to stay curious and actually go back to her boss and say, look, I know that it's not likely that I could receive a promotion, but let's say it were possible. What would happen? What would have to happen for me to get promoted? And really just engage in a conversation with him about possibility. And what that does is it keeps the options on the table. Because again, let me reiterate that no promotion until you've been offered the promotion is actually yours. And so the same works on the reverse. No promotion has ever been denied of you until it's no longer possible. Like at any point does it ever go away, right? And so you want to make sure that you're always engaging in possibility and curiosity and staying engaged in these types of higher level conversations. And for obvious reasons, that could turn out to be an actual promotion. Like he could think and get more creative and think of an opportunity. But also he sees you as somebody who is very serious about their own development, as somebody who is not necessarily going to take no for an answer. Not an ultimatum, like if I don't get promoted, I'm out of here. But as a resourceful leader that likes to brainstorm things, that really wants to think about it, that isn't just like, oh, you know what? You're right. I guess it's not going to work out. Oh, that's such a bummer. Oh, well, I guess I'll move on. And you go back to your desk, head down, right? And my job is to empower you to step into your own leadership, to begin leading yourself so that you can get into these higher level leadership positions. So that's the second way that you can be curious, is really just ask, well, what if it were possible? Just ask that question over and over again. What if it were possible? And the last thing I want to leave you with in today's episode is my Asking Better Questions worksheet. So if you go to stacymayer.com/questions, and we'll also link to that in the show notes, you can download this worksheet. And I have actually broken down 20 different questions that you can ask during your 15-minute ally meetings to really build trust with executive leadership. Now, my 15-minute ally meetings are all about building trust. They're not just networking conversations. And the only way we can build trust is ding, 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 through curiosity, staying curious. And so I give you 4 different ways that you can ask questions and continue to stay curious. So you can be curious about them as a leader, what their background, how they got where they are, how they make decisions. You can be curious about the organization. What are the needs of the organization? Where do you see yourself fitting in? Where do they see you fitting in the organization? What are the long-term goals? What are the obstacles of the organization? You can be curious more specifically about how they see you. Again, not from this like mentorship, please tell me what to do, but in an opening, as in like be very clear about what your career vision is and what your goals are, and then how they see that happening for you. That is staying curious. That is staying empowered. And the fourth area is really connecting with that leader and how they see trends in the industry, how they view the industry as a whole, the challenges the industry has been facing. You know, if they're a thought leader in their industry, asking them questions about that transition as well. So in this worksheet, definitely go to stacymayer.com/questions, download it. It's free. And you're going to see how you can begin to ask those questions right away. It will continue to help you stay in that level of curiosity. But to recap, as I head out today, I want to remind you 3 ways that you can start to create the magic of curiosity to get the results of your dreams and to have things happen for you in a way that you don't even know how. Like it's like beyond your wildest imagination. But it's so simple. I'm telling you, start acting out of curiosity and you're going to see big, big things happen. The first way is to look for openings. Ask follow-up questions. Follow up on the openings, right? Ask why. It's so, so important and it's so easy and it forces you to listen. You're going to listen more powerfully in these conversations. The second way is to say, well, you know, what if it were possible? So whenever you receive a negative feedback or you receive something that is less than stellar, you're going to say, well, what if that wasn't true? What if it were possible? You're going to stay in curiosity that way and open up to more and more possibility. And the other thing you're going to do is you're going to focus on building trust with executive leadership using curiosity-based questions. So download my questions worksheet, get started on that today, and make sure you tag me or DM me and let me know how this is working out for you. We still have 5 or 6 weeks left of the Summer of Magic. I am absolutely thrilled that we're going to be able to celebrate at least 108 promotions, even while we are on vacation. And I hope one of them is yours. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful week. Bye. Before you go, I have a question for you. Do you know how close you are to your next promotion? Really? Not what your boss has told you, not what you even believe to be true, but have you actually taken the time to sit down, take an assessment, review the 5 categories that it takes to get promoted into senior executive leadership positions and decided where you fall in each category and given yourself a ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 of how close you are to getting your next promotion? Have you done this? Well, now's your chance. If that feels interesting to you and you're like, hey, I want to know exactly how close I might actually be or how far away you might be and what it's going to take to get you even closer, then I invite you to take my promotability quiz. This is a quiz that I put together with practical tips that actually tell you where you're lacking and where you're winning. What are the areas that you actually need to improve and not necessarily what your boss is telling you all the time so that you can take concrete steps towards landing that next promotion and changing the face of the leadership table. Go to yourpromotabilityscore.com to take your free assessment today. Yourpromotabilityscore.com and let me know how it goes.